Welcome to Community Connections with Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County. I'm but one, just one of your hosts, Sean Boyle, and with me is
Ashley Mock.
And welcome to this special time once a month where our little radio program that airs on 104.5 The Flame every Sunday at 10 a.m. also becomes a monthly television show thanks to the wonderful partners at WLX, the St. Lucie Education Channel. And we spend this 30 minutes, whether you're watching us on TV or listening to us on the radio, to talk about resources and things that are happening for children and families in St. Lucie County. If you're a first-time listener, I'm going to explain, or watcher I should say, I'm going to explain what the Children's Services Council is and does. We do 5 things in our community, and those 5 things are: 1, make sure every baby's a healthy baby; 2, stop child abuse before it happens; 3, keep kids off the streets, keep them in school, sorry, stop counting, and keep them off drugs, alcohol, and other risky behaviors. And we do this by providing resources and programs to all families in St. Lucie County.
There's only 5, so I think even though you stopped counting, we could follow you.
They got the other 2, that's good.
We're good. But Sean's right, this is an exciting week of our month for the radio show, but this is an exciting month for us too. Probably, I think, for sure, one of my favorites that we do for our television show as well. But we've got an exciting guest that's going to talk to us about a really cool topic today. But we, of course, want to talk about all the ways that you can stay in touch with us outside of this radio show and TV show. And there's a couple ways that you can do that. We've got an awesome website at cscslc.org, where you can get information about all of our funded programs. We use this show to talk about a lot of those resources, and that's how we get the information to you. But you can visit our website all the time to get information about our funded programs, about things that are happening in the community, about things that are going on for your family, and a lot of tips for parents about things that maybe you're struggling with your kids, information that you might want help with. You can also get in touch with us on Facebook, which we're finding is a place that we get a lot of questions. We have a lot of conversations with families there, and we welcome you to reach out to us on Facebook. If there's a program that you're looking for or anything, we post there pretty much daily.
I was literally
sometimes more than that.
Prior to going on the show, I was literally just on Facebook because somebody had messaged us.
Oh, good. So we do get a lot of questions there, and it's a really easy way to communicate with us. Sean and I respond pretty quickly to Facebook if you...
all hours of the night.
If you ask us questions there. So I would encourage everybody, if you're not a fan of our Facebook page, find us there. Just search Children's Services Council, St. Lucie County. There are other Children's Services Councils, and we like them.
We love the St. Lucie
But we love St. Lucie County. So find us there and connect with us on Facebook.
All right, and just how this show works, we're going to talk about a resource. We hope that you share it, spread it. But we do this weekly on the radio station, once a month on the television. But we want to hear back from you. So if we cover a resource and we talk about it really fast and you miss it,
that's okay.
I'm talking
we
about
get
me.
It.
You can text us directly at 772, I have to read my own number, 772-237-1130, and or if you have a topic or subject that you'd like for us to address on a future show.
So a couple things that we want to make sure that we talk about. We know that we've already gotten questions from people in the community about our Sounds of the Season holiday concert, which of course we are always excited about. And we're excited that we have nailed down the date with the Sunrise Theater, who's been an awesome partner of ours for 6 years. So the Sounds of the Season holiday concert is going to be Friday, December 16th at 7:30 p.m. And we are, as always, are going to have performers from our funded programs, which is an awesome opportunity for the kids in those programs to get up and perform on the stage at the Sunrise. We've got some new programs performing this year for the first time, including the PACE Center for Girls, which I'm really excited about. And as always, we'll be headlined by the Avenue D Boys and Girls Choir. So we're really excited about that. The only real change this year is that we are asking folks to, instead of bringing an unwrapped toy, as we have in years past, we're asking everyone to bring a book. And those books are going to go toward our St. Lucie Reads promotion that we've been doing for a while. We've been talking about our reading mentors, our little libraries, our prescription book program. So we're asking everyone who comes to the concert that night to bring a book with them that will go into our sort of big book library.
Right, and part of that whole rationale is we found out nationally, these national statistics that we assume apply here, children in middle class to higher incomes, there's 12 books for every child, but in low-income neighborhoods, there's 1 book for every 300 children. So we're setting up little libraries, we're working with Florida Community Health Centers, they're writing prescription for the parents to read to their child and giving them a book, and we're going to utilize those books to get books into the hands of those children that need, help with literacy.
Yep, and of course you'll be able to get more information about the concert on our Facebook page, on Instagram, on our website. So stay in touch with us in all those places and you'll be able to get more.
So turn out, and if you turn out, make sure that every act gets a standing ovation because
Yes.
they worked really hard. It's very nerve-wracking to be on the stage at the sunrise. We know we're the hosts.
Yes.
And maybe this year we'll get Ashley to sing.
No.
All right, maybe not.
No.
All right, we've got 2 guests today.
Yes.
And normally we talk a little bit longer before we get to the guests, but they're waiting very patiently.
Right, and it's a topic that, we might have a lot to cover because I have a lot to say about it. So
I'm just going to actually leave right now because this is really a showcase for you. But
You're just gonna sit back
This is
and-
an exciting month, and I know it means a lot, not only to our guest here, but I know it means a lot to your family. So do you want to introduce?
Sure, I would love to. So November is National Adoption Month, and if you are a longtime listener of the show, then you probably know why it's important to my family, because my family was basically started through adoption. My husband and I adopted our kids last year. In September. I had to think about that. Gosh, was it really just last year? It seems so much longer than that. But we were lucky enough to adopt our kids in September of last year with the help of some of these people sitting to my left. But we wanted to make sure that we used this show this month during National Adoption Month to highlight some of the really awesome things that our local agencies are doing surrounding National Adoption Month and all the other months of the year. Because really, while we draw attention to it during the month of November, you guys work at this all year long, every day.
Get some strong head nods there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is really important. So we've got 2 really strong adoption advocates with us today. And I want to get started with Christina Kaiser from Devereux Community-Based Care and really talk about kind of the overarching adoption outlook, I guess we'll say, for the community. Kind of what adoption looks like for us right now in St. Lucie County. And I know you guys kind of reach a much bigger picture than that, but looking at our community and what adoption looks like, what are we looking at right now? What does adoption look like for us?
Well, actually, adoption is looking very good in our community. We've made some tremendous improvements over the last couple of years, particularly because of the indefatigable work that's done by our provider, Children's Home Society. Frank is with Children's Home Society, but that is the organization that we contract with to provide adoptions. And just to give you an idea of the tremendous growth that's happened just in the last year, your 3 children were 3 of the 172 children whose adoptions were finalized in the last year. And that is a 40% increase over the actual goal that my organization, Devereux Community-Based Care, gave to Frank's organization, Children's Home Society. So they exceeded that goal by more than 40%, and they exceeded the number of children who were adopted by 21% over the previous year. So the numbers are improving dramatically. Something that we're very proud of, obviously, in our community. Future looks bright and getting brighter.
Well, obviously, I've talked a lot personally about how it's affected our family, and our adoption process went very quickly, which, you hear a lot of stories from people about that not being the case. And there's kids in foster care adoption who that may not be the story for. So Frank, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what the foster care adoption process looks like. You work very closely with the Heart Gallery. If you want to explain what Heart Gallery looks like a little bit, and then if there's families who maybe are interested in foster care adoption, what that process looks like for them.
Sure. As the marketing person for Children's Home Society, it's kind of my job to get out into the community and promote the need for adoptive homes, whether it's through mass media opportunities like this, whether it's the Heart Gallery, which for folks that may not know is a traveling photographic exhibit of our more difficult to place children in the foster care system that we're trying to find adoptive homes. We're talking about our older children, kids over the age of 7 or 8 years old up to 17, sibling groups that we're trying to keep together, children that are minority or biracial kids, kids with physical, emotional, behavioral issues. The more difficult to place children make up maybe 25 to 30% of our overall children that we have available on the Treasure Coast, and I would think that that's probably a pretty standard number across the state or across the country. As you know, the majority of the children are in what we call identified homes. Those are the ones that kind of can get cranked out a little bit more quickly because they're going to be placed with or are placed with an aunt or an uncle, the foster home that's going to plan to adopt them, the grandparent, etc. But it's the rest of these children who we're trying to recruit homes for. So we do that, like I said, through the gallery, through the wonderful partnership that we have with Treasure Coast newspapers, you all as the local funders of the Heart Gallery of Okeechobee and the Treasure Coast, and then of course we as the adoption agency, the three of us kind of make up the three-headed founders, if you will, of the Heart Gallery. Of course, the funding that we get through Devereux Community-Based Care helps us, with the overall adoption program, and many of my coworkers who Christina said work incredibly hard. It feels like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to get those 172 adoptions completed. With regards to the process itself, okay, sure, my job is to kind of toot the horn of the program and let folks know that yes, there are children in our community that need what we call a forever family. Once folks showcase that tell us that they're interested, they would come out to an adoption orientation. We generally hold it on the last Thursday of the month at our office in Fort Pierce. It runs anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes, depending on turnout and questions. What happens at that point is that we have an adoption specialist who will then meet with those families individually in their homes. If we deem that those families should or could move on to the next step in the adoption process, the majority of them, if not all of them, would then get forwarded or recommended to start what we call Pip Class, which is Partnerships in Parenting, which is a class that is facilitated locally with us through Camelot Community-Based Care. And what Camelot does is they facilitate the program, and then one of our adoption specialists then continues to work with that family, writing what we call an adoption home study, which is really a very invasive process, as you well know, Ashley, that basically gets everything from background checks to your motivation to adopt to potentially health screenings, everything basically from the time you were a child all the way up to the present moment, that basically is a story of your family that then basically hopefully highlights your strengths as a family, so that then if and when you show interest in a particular child or sibling group, we can match your strengths as a family to the needs of one or more of our local children.
That is an accurate description of a home study. It is every piece of paper you could ever possibly imagine you would need to put together.
That is one of those things where I guess at this point we haven't been able to figure out a way to go completely green as it were as it relates to that process.
But the responsibility of what you're endeavoring to take on, it should be a little invasive, right?
Because no, totally understandable. And we had lots of conversations with our fantastic adoption specialist who walked us through that process. And I joked with her all the time about, really? You need my dog's vaccination records? Again, we did that once, but we joke about it, but you're right. It's an absolutely incredible responsibility, and we have to take that seriously. So, I will say too, I said we had a wonderful experience with our adoption specialist. I felt like she became part of our family because she was there. Probably 3 or 4 times in the span of the time that we did our home study. And she would come to the door and just, the kids were more excited to see her every time that she came. So it was like she became part of the family, and it was just, we had a great, wonderful experience. It was awesome.
So I'm wondering if either one of you, we've talked about there's 172 children that were adopted last year, a 40% increase. But, if we've got somebody listening, maybe doesn't really understand, not everybody works in our field, so maybe they don't fully understand or grasp, how these children become available for adoption. I'm wondering if you could take a couple minutes, either one of you, to speak to the need in the community for adoptive families.
Right, and I absolutely. I've got like 5 different points I want to make in my head all right now. But yes, we do have a significant need for both adoptive and foster homes in our community. We serve on any given day about 1,000 children and their families. And these are children who have come through the system and are being served through the dependency system because of incidences of abuse, neglect, or abandonment. The vast majority of these children can go home. We have, I mentioned Children's Home Society is one of our providers. They provide adoption services. Well, we have a network of providers that provide, I hate saying that. I've got to find a better way of saying that. But we have a number of organizations that provide services that meet the different requirements of the system. And so we can put services in the homes to strengthen the homes, make them healthy, and send children back home. Or we don't always remove children from home. They stay in home and they receive services there. So the point is the majority of children are able to go home. There are some where that's not an option, and so they are made available for adoption. And one of the things I wanted to say, I mentioned that 172 number and how it had exceeded the goal. But those are children whose homes were finalized here in our 4-county community. Our adoption staff, our Children's Home Society local adoption staff, are actually responsible for 199. Unfortunately, we cannot count the adoptions that take children out of our community. So some of those children had adoptions that were finalized in other parts of the state, but they were finalized by people right here in our community. So the work is just exceptional right now, and there are several key reasons for this improvement. One of them, Frank touched on. Children's Home Society about 18 months ago hired a person, I call it micro recruitment. Frank does an incredible job with a broad brush, raising awareness in the community. This particular person looks, who do we have available for adoption? What children are out there? What families have applied for adoption? And on a daily basis is looking at the pairings that can be made and then following up over and over and over again. And that work, that consistent work, has really made a huge impact in the work that's being done. We also have, this is really an exciting new field. We have something called adoption competency training that it really teaches key individuals in the community to do their work through the lens of adoption. So we know that, you particularly know that families who have been created through adoption, they have special, unique needs. They're thinking in different ways, they have different feelings, they have different life experiences. And so we are providing this adoption competency training so that people in the community, for instance, we have about 20 who have been trained. I think Frank was one of them recently. We also have, of those people, 7 therapists in the community. So people who are already working with this population of children, they now are trained to have a special relation through this adoption sensitivities, so they can catch, maybe they're more apt to catch a red flag and to prevent adoption disruption, which not a huge problem, but even one disruption creates very large, it ripples into a big wave for the rest of the system and for the children who are being served by it.
Very interesting.
I don't know if I answered your question,
Sure.
but I got through a couple of the points that were going through my head. I really wanted to give the props, though, to Children's Home Society's adoption staff, because the work that they did you can't tell a better story than one that,
172,
Yeah.
a 40% increase. That's a pretty good success story.
Yeah, we'll take that.
And
Well, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, specifically related to the need, how many kids are on the Heart Gallery currently?
Well, just speaking with some of my coworkers recently about the number of kids that she's working with, because not all children that are recruitment kids, they may be younger, which generally the younger kids we're not going to put on, but by the same token, some of the older children don't want their faces out there the same way either. They may not want their face on display on the Heart Gallery in a lobby of a mall or the lobby of a library. But I was told recently that we have approximately 50 children in the recruitment portion of our program. Of those kids right now, I think I have about 34 of them on the Heart Gallery, but the good news is about 8 or 10 of those are currently either matched or placed in homes, and several more of them we have stopped accepting home studies because we have a potential for a match. Now, again, that doesn't mean that some of those 50 won't eventually make it. Some of the other of those 50 won't eventually make it on the Heart Gallery, as my coworker Stacy works with some of those children, trying to either convince them to come on the gallery, or of course, as you know, this is a very fluid thing, and kids are coming into care all the time and potentially available for adoption.
So I'm kind of disappointed in myself because we've come this far in the show and I've yet to ask anybody what number, if somebody's watching the show, listening to the show, and they're interested in learning more about adoption, who do they call?
I would say they could call us directly. Our adoption information line at Children's Home Society is 772-429-2001. It's an automated line. We generally don't answer it right away, but if they leave a message, I'm the one that they're going to hear back from within 24 hours.
And then another call to our listeners and our audience. You have a Heart Gallery.
Yes.
We've had you on the show before. It's a photographic display of children that are up for adoption and the need for forever families. It's the pictures kind of capture who they are, and there's a little summary. But you have the ability to bring that Heart Gallery to public places, i.e. the people who are listening, the churches, the businesses, the social clubs. So do you want to briefly talk about that and maybe how people can get involved with that as well?
Oh, absolutely, Sean. Thank you. The two different versions of the Heart Gallery. We have the large freestanding gallery that would go into the bigger lobbies, places like that. It's about 12 to 15 feet long, about 7 feet high. The photos are about 9 by 13 in size with, like you said, the bio that's professionally mounted right on the display. I do all the work. I can set it up in about a half an hour, get out of your way, and then it can sit in your place of business for 6 weeks, 8 weeks is what we try to do. Or we have a smaller tabletop display, which I can set out or take out to community events, civic clubs, faith-based organizations. Again, the same phone number, they can reach me directly, and we can discuss how their agency can do a good thing by benefiting our agency and the children in care and the system at large.
And it's a great way to bring awareness to the need for adoptive families and children that are in need of adoption. And the way the kind of show works is, it may not be for you, the listener that's listening, but you never know who in your circle of friends, network, business, church, whatever, may be thinking about it. But until we talk about it, until we make the community aware of it, we can't make that connection. So I would encourage anybody that's watching and or listening, your church, your civic group, even your business, if you have a nice lobby, to contact Frank at 429-2001 to display the Heart Gallery so that we can have these conversations in our community.
It's a great way to at least open the conversation, to start talking about it and to start talking about the kids, because, and Frank mentioned a little bit about the partnership with Treasure Coast newspapers. Historically, the pictures that were posted of kids who were waiting to be adopted were not maybe the best. They were not. It was typically taken in a caseworker's office, not really the greatest photo, but through this partnership, the photographs that are taken of them are just wonderful. and really impactful and have really made a difference.
What we've seen is, you go go back 20 or 30 years ago, and it's exactly what you've explained, Ashley. It is basically, it was a head and shoulders mugshot type of thing, potentially black and white, and
Up against a white wall.
up against the wall, and what you saw was maybe because of that, because of the nature of the business back in those days, we were finding less than 10% of those children maybe were going to get adopted by the time they turned 18 because of the Heart Gallery, which started in 2001 in New Mexico, and we kind of got over here around 2005. I came along in 2007. We've seen anywhere between 40 to 70% of our children get a finalized adoption in any given year. If they choose to remain on the gallery. We've had kids adopted a week before their 18th birthday, 17 and a half, things like that. So we've seen some pretty remarkable results because we're able to really proactively market or promote the need. And whether it is the gallery on display locally or these wonderful photos being available on adoption-related websites that people can go to me, that's all the Heart Gallery, whether it's the tangible of the gallery itself
Right.
that I move around, or the photos just, the bios being written and done. That to me is all results of what we would consider to be the Heart Gallery effect, I guess.
And we have just a couple minutes left, but I know you've got an Adoption Day celebration coming up too, if you want to talk about that for just a minute.
Real briefly, on Saturday, November 19th from 10 to 1 at Langford Park in Jensen Beach, we have the 17th annual National Adoption Day celebration. We like to recognize as many families as want to come out and join us that have adopted children, not just over the last year, but anytime over the years. We do as much promotion as we can, trying to let folks know about it. It is a free family-style picnic. We'll feed you, we'll give you activities, community event booths, giveaways, guest speakers, all kinds of stuff. It's free. It's located at, again, Langford Park in Jensen Beach, which is at 2369 Dixie Highway. Real easy to find. It's a fun time. Come on out, spend a little while with us. It's partially sponsored by the St. Lucie Draft House here in St. Lucie County. They're one of the big funders of the event. And of course, we have funding, like I said, from you all, from United Way and other funders, Devereux, that just do a wonderful job helping us do the work that we're able to do every year.
Very cool.
And so the whole month of November is National Adoption Month. You're celebrating National Adoption Day on, you just said it, November 19th. Sorry, I can't read as good as you did. On November 19th. But really, we want the viewing audience and the listening audience, because it is National Adoption Month, to have those conversations, whether it be at your workplace or even just simply posting something on Facebook. We talked about Facebook earlier. But the more that we have a conversation in the community about it, the more that the need can be, kind of discovered, and the more children we can connect with forever families. And I know Frank does the Heart Gallery, and they're the, I'm going to use air quotes, the hard-to-place kids, but they're usually the older kids. And think about it, when you're 16, 17, or even 18 years of age, let's say they go to college or they go work, who do they come back to during the holidays? Who do they call when, times are stressful? They need a family. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of an emotional tug, but, we need to make the community aware of this issue.
Absolutely.
So we're about out of time. I got that cue from your look. We're about 30 seconds left. We want to thank you for coming on, Christina and Frank. And really a big thank you to all the families that have adopted, and to your family as well. It's really a tremendous thing. We have a work family, and we've kind of witnessed your family go through it, and we know what a great thing it's been and what a great thing it is for the community. We encourage everybody to get involved. Again, Frank's number 429-2001. We're on all zeros on the timer, so we are out of here. It's a monthly radio show on 104.5 The Flame on Sundays at 10 a.m., a monthly TV show. Thank you very much for listening and viewing. Remember, it's our children, our community, our future. We're all in this together. We'll see you next time.